Welcome to another lesson from the listening section. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how to handle matching questions types in the listening section. These are a type of question that come up once in a while in the IELTS exam, so it's a good idea to be prepared and to know exactly how to deal with them. In matching questions, you're actually only given one question, but it counts as maybe 5 or 6 questions because for the one question, you'll be asked to answer the one question according to 5 different options. And in this case, you have one question and you have 3 options for each of the topics that come up during the recording. So this is what I'm going to share with you, and let's get started. And the first thing that we always do is we look at the instructions very carefully. Instructions are always very important. And in the listening section, you'll be asked to listen to the instructions and then read the instructions that you have and then mark the instructions to make sure that you've paid attention and you're clear on the task that you're about to achieve. So let's take a good look at these instructions, because when it comes to matching questions, there are some important things you need to be aware of to make sure you're accomplishing the task correctly. So the first thing we want to do is we want to read the instructions, and we're going to mark the important details of the instructions to make sure that we've seen everything that we need to see and know everything we need to know. So in this case, the one question we have to deal with for 5 questions is, what does Jack tell his tutor about each of the following course options? So what we want to be clear on is we're going to hear lots of information about these different course options. But the thing that we want to focus on directly is exactly, what does Jack tell his tutor? What does Jack say to his tutor? And there are 3 options to choose from. A is he'll definitely do it. B is he may or may not do it. He's undecided. Or C, he won't do it. So we have these 3 options. And then what we're asked to do is, for each of the topics that come up, and we can see that there are going to be 5 different course options: media studies, women in power, culture and society, identity and popular culture, and introduction to cultural theory. As we hear each of these different course options come up, we are going to have to decide whether it's A, B, or C. A, he'll definitely do it. B, he may or may not do it. Or C, he won't do it. And then what we're going to do is, as we're listening, we're just simply going to write option A, B, or C next to the question. And as we're listening, we're going to do this right in our notebook, because at the end of the listening section, at the end of the 30 minutes that we have to answer 40 questions, once that time is finished, we're given 10 minutes to transfer our answers from our notebook to the answer sheet. So as we're listening, we want to mark these letters in right beside the course topics in our notebook. So we know what we're listening for. What does Jack say about each of these topics? And we choose A, B, or C. He'll definitely do it. He may or may not do it, or he won't do it. So that's really important. And this is actually the most important step when it comes to matching questions. There are different types of matching questions. The strategy is always the same, but we want to make sure, especially with these type of questions, to know exactly what the task is and be very clear. And this only comes by reading and listening to the instructions. And as we listen to the instructions, this is where we'll find the context for what we're listening for and the topic of the whole recording. Another reason that listening to the instructions carefully is helpful is this starts to get us listening in English, listening for the accent that we might have coming up, and we're going to be ready to have our answers predicted and prepared. One thing to be aware of when it comes to matching questions is that the course options from 21 down to 25 will come in order. So they won't be mixed up. So as you're listening, take a good look at your options, read them over, and understand that they will come in order. So you won't hear something about culture and society before you hear about media studies. They do come in order, and that's a good thing to know as you're preparing to listen. So, for example, if you hear clearly something about media studies and put in your answer, and then you're listening and it might not be very clear, and all of a sudden you hear something about culture and society. So suddenly you realized you may have missed what was said about women and power. Well, this is not a reason to panic. It's a reason to just keep on moving and make sure you don't miss the answers to the next questions. If you focus on what you've missed, there's a good chance you'll miss the next one as well. And remember, in the listening section, your goal is to get as many correct as possible out of the 40 questions that you face. You don't lose any marks for incorrect answers, so you just want to make sure you get as many correct as possible. So this is a good tip for every type of question in the listening section. If you miss an answer, don't panic. Just keep moving forward. And if you miss one, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you're prepared to hear the next answer that you're listening for. Once you've completed all 40 questions, and then when you're transferring your answers to the question sheet, if worse comes to worse, you can at least guess, and that might give you a chance. But make sure that you don't rely on that, but keep moving forward and get as many correct as possible. One thing to be aware of when it comes to matching questions, for example, you're to choose A, B, or C. He'll definitely do it. He may or may not do it, or he won't do it. Well, you're probably not going to hear these exact words in the recording. So this is where it's important to be aware of synonyms and paraphrasing. You're not going to hear the exact set of words that are in the questions. You're going to hear synonyms or paraphrasing. So instead of I will definitely do it, or I may or may not do it, or I won't do it, you're more likely to hear things like, I'm very interested in women in power, so I think I'll go for that one. So instead of saying may or may not, you may hear something like, I think I'll go for that one. Or instead of hearing I won't do it, you'll maybe hear something like, I'll give media studies a miss, as I did a similar module last year. So just be aware that synonyms and paraphrasing are an important part of matching question types. Another thing to be aware of is that in the listening section of the IELTS exam, there are often distractions. And this is not something that is being done intentionally to try and get you to make a mistake. It's just another test to be sure that you're listening carefully and that you're being patient. What you want to do in the listening section is make sure that you're patient and you don't write in any answers until you're sure you have the correct answer. But when you are sure, make sure you write it in immediately, and again, move forward and prepare for the next question. So a common distraction is when you hear the word but, which means there's going to be a contrast in the second part of the sentence to what was said in the first part. So don't be distracted and answer according to the first part. Listen to the whole sentence and make sure you write the correct answer. For example, I'd really like to study identity and popular culture, but I don't like the lecturer, so I'm not going to take it. So in the first part of the sentence, it sounds like he is interested, but clearly as you continue to listen to the sentence, he's not interested and he won't take the course. So this is just a type of distraction to be aware of. You can see another example in the second sentence, and again, it's using the word however, again, to put a contrast or to even show that he has a different idea than what he initially expresses. I discounted culture and society. However, a friend took it last year and loved it, so I'm seriously considering it as an option. So you can see that the second part of the sentence has the opposite message as the first. But if you're patient and listen for and continue to listen and be patient, you will know the right answer when you hear it, and then you'll write it in immediately. And that's the key to matching question types in the listening section. So when it comes time and you've heard the correct answer, write it immediately and just write the letter next to the topic that you're listening for. And then later on, again, you'll have a chance to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. So if you'd like to practice this set of questions, the link for the recording and the notes and the answers are in the notes, and you can find them there. And I want to wish you all the best as you continue to prepare for the listening section of the IELTS exam.